Hi, I'm Al King, and welcome to Rocking Chair. Why is it called Rocking Chair? Well, I'm sitting in a rocking chair, and hopefully, we'll be doing some rocking in it. Um, I'm going to be talking about collecting music and going through the collection that I've amassed over the decades of collecting, about 50 years, starting in the mid 70s. Don't get too excited. It's basically just a middle aged man going through his record collection. But the reason I'm doing it is, for the first time, all my albums have been united in one place. They used to be split between places where I lived and where I was travelling to, destinations that had great record shops. And so, the collection used to be in Cyprus, London, and here in Suffolk. But now it's all, for the first time, been united here together in the cellar, which is my music room, which is probably evident from the guitars and the records. Anyway, I'm going to be going through my collection by genre. I sort of categorize my albums by genre using the genres that Colin Larkin identifies in his Top 1000 Albums book. Quite a good place to start, by the way, if you are beginning. But yeah, he's the sort of meta genres are the fairly obviously rock and pop, funk and soul, jazz, blues, punk, indie, boom, 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 boom. So yeah, we'll be going through genre by genre, starting with rock and pop and going A to Z. So here we go, rock and pop with A, top left-hand corner. We start with, well, the band that kind of started it all for me really. First band I got into was Slade, but the first band that I kind of really fell for and began obsessing over, and in fact the first album I ever bought was by ABBA. So already, look, here's a surprise. I've got two versions of Waterloo by ABBA. So that one looks like an original, and this one looks like a reissue. You can tell the difference between the sort of weathering on the cover. But yeah, it says Napoleon on the back. Yeah, and it contains, some of my favourite songs by them, including Honey Honey with that fabulous middle eight. So yes, ABBA. Awesome. Let's just pop those down there. Move Mr. Larkin over there. The second album, obviously, ABBA was a bit of a killer. This has got Tropical Loveland on it, which I absolutely adore. I've Been Waiting for You as well, which is kind of like their ode to God Only Knows. Bjorn and Benny, the songwriters. Bjorn in particular were huge fans of, basically the best sort of like songwriters of the 60s and the early 70s. So Lennon McCartney, the Beatles, Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys, and the Carpenters. So you can hear references to those artists all over the ABBA material. So those two albums, a compilation was made from them called ABBA's Greatest Hits, which you've probably got, which is where I started. As a result of them, breaking, as a result of Waterloo. Then you get onto Arrival, which is, chock full of big hits. But, one of the joys of vinyl is it's the packaging. It's like, albums were so much more important in the 70s and the 80s. And, you would pool your resources to be able to afford the ones you wanted. And then just play them over and over again and obsess over them, and wonderful images like that. Probably my favourite band shot of ABBA. And an album full of massive hits, yes, but again, singling out some key tracks. I think That's Me on side 2 and also Tiger, absolutely fantastic, the overlooked ABBA tracks. Right, now we get to the best ABBA album, and my favourite ABBA album, and it's contained by possibly my favourite track of all time. It was for a while. And interesting, I've got two versions here. So this is ABBA, the album from 1977. The memories. I got this for my 13th birthday. My parents bought it for me on a day trip to, it was either Roermond or Venlo in Holland. Anyway, this is ABBA the album, which is an absolute masterpiece. Again, look at that shot. Not quite as good as the inner sleeve of Arrival, but still super cool. By the way, this is very controversial, but I like to store my inner sleeves so that the album can come straight out for ready access. Many purists would poo-poo that and say, "Oh no, you have to put it in that way so the album can come out." Your choice, really. So look, this is ABBA the album. It's like a double. So yeah, this is a reissue. Remember, I bought this probably in Cyprus when it came out, mainly because there was additional photography which I hadn't seen at the time, which proved to be a little bit disappointing. Come on, get back in there. There's the shot that was on the inner sleeve on the original. What have we got there? Oh, another band shot as well. Oh, several band shots as well. Look at that, aren't they lovely? Where would we be without these wonderful Swedes? And Norwegians, I think. Frida was Norwegian, wasn't she? You might have to check that. But yeah. Oh, there's something in there. Crikey. I've just found something that I didn't even know was in there. See, this is why we're doing this. A, to share my love of music and vinyl with you, but B, to actually discover things we didn't even realise. This is a marketing certificate. Abbey Road is a well-renowned engineers have been cutting. Right, okay, so it's a half-speed reissue of ABBA, which I'd forgotten I'd got. And I've got a certificate to go with it. Who knows? Might be worth a bob or two. So yes, when my son and daughter inherit my collection, that's the kind of thing I imagine I'll be putting straight on eBay to raise a bit of money. Right. So this certificate, if I can actually get it to, is going to go back in there. And yeah, brilliant. And, for me, ABBA peak on this particular record because, inevitably bands do have peaks and troughs throughout their career. They've had a run of amazing hits. They're maturing as songwriters and artists and as people. They haven't quite got to the breakup stage yet, but, they're certainly at the big success phase. And, yes, people will remember Take a Chance on Me and Name of the Game as the singles, but Side 1, Track 1, Eagle, probably the greatest song they ever did. Well, I know it is, and it was inspired by the band The Eagles, hence the name. They were going for that sort of post Laurel Canyon soft rock West Coast sort of sound, and they achieve it. And this was the film that spawned, the album that spawned the film as well. I remember going to see this with Dave at Sleaford Cinema and crying when the journalist who's trying to get an interview with the band finally meets the band in the lift and gets the all-important interview. And yeah, it's outstanding. And they play Eagle in the lift. But yeah, on side 2, there's a couple of belters. Basically, A Hole in Your Soul and I'm a Marionette, which contain some really quite heavy stuff for ABBA. Great guitar, rock guitar riffs, and also some killer guitar solos. So yeah, ABBA the album, yeah, as far as ABBA are concerned, is the bomb for me, and that's the probably the first album that I truly fell in love with. So as we go through rock and pop A to Z, this is my first serious recommendation for you. Cool. So that's the A's. What have we got here? We've got more A's. Oh, well, that's a belter. Right, so when it comes to 80s music, it doesn't get much better than ABC's The Lexicon of Love, which everybody has got, I would hope. If not, you need to rectify that. Martin Fry, in peak form as a songwriter, produced by Trevor Horn, and the backing band as well, particularly the bass player, utterly superb. I mean, I thrashed this thing. Ha, look at that, that's interesting. Yeah, this is what I used to do. I used to steal people's copies of smash hits and then rip out the pages with the reviews or the song lyrics. So that's interesting. My God, this record's been played a lot. And then what perhaps you don't know is that I think this came out about 5 years ago, roughly. But yeah, so let's think. ABC, Let's Kind of Love. That's 1982. 92, 2002, 2005. Yeah, about 40 years later, they got back together. The guy who does the orchestration and the string arrangements and Martin Fry. Unfortunately, not the original band, which is a great shame. But they did Lex Kind of Love 2, which is not quite as good. I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. This is a sort of 8.5 out of 10. But you know what could have been a cynical cash-in and a creative disaster turns out to be absolutely superb. So highly recommended. ABC, Let's Kind of Love, and the sequel. What else we're going to talk about while we're here on the A's? We're just going to keep going through the A's. Oh, we'll save that for... All right, looks like we're on the B's. Looks like we're on the B's. How the fuck is that in there? Ladies and gentlemen, that is a Richard Clayderman record. Ladies and gentlemen, it no longer exists. Right, we're on the B's there. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go from ABBA to the Beatles, predictably enough. So let's just get the Beatles identified and collected together in a roughly chronological order by the looks of it. Yeah. So, I mean, with the Beatles, crikey. These bands have been discussed and dissected more than any other, but, you know, I guess things start to get serious around about Hard Day's Night with the Beatles. It's when they, you know, move away from the sort of early beat sort of like era when it's all about singles and songs and hits into unlocking the joys of the studio and tinkering around in there and creating albums. And it's when the album starts to get really taken seriously. But, you know, I guess Rubber Soul is one of my favourites, and I've always been a huge fan of Run For Your Life at the end there, which is a throwaway sort of Lennon song, but it's really good. What on earth is this? This is something I bought in Kiev before the war. Yeah, it's a compilation by the Beatles called A Taste of Honey. Weird selection of tracks on it as well. And some of my Russian-speaking friends can perhaps get in touch and tell me what that means there. But yeah, interesting. Didn't know I had that. Didn't even know what it was. Yeah, everyone's got Sergeant Pepper. We know. Everyone's got Abbey Road, or at least they should have. But I think the two Beatles albums I'm going to focus on are going to be these two. Because, you know, if you haven't got a record collection and you're going to start, you basically start with these. So this is the early Beatles, 62 to 66, in that sort of beat singles era that I was mentioning earlier. And then late Beatles, 67 to the Grey Cab in 70, when they're like serious musos, you know. And, you know, may have spoken a bit of pot and done a bit of LSD by that point in their career. But yeah, when you went, when one went around friends' houses, which I you know, well, I can remember doing it once. I went off to boarding school at King's in 76, and then we'd have weekends away with, you know, friends you'd met there. Quite often, you know, they were farmers' kids or RAF kids. But yeah, almost every parent who were, you know, vaguely into sort of pop music would always have these two albums. And you just can't go wrong. These have been recently reissued as well, with extra tracks, and the extra tracks are actually great little additions. I remember Hey Bulldog being on there and Follow the Sun, which are fantastic little tracks. But, you know, these two compilations by the Beatles, what on earth is this? Oh my God, there's a bloody booklet in there. This might be worth a bob or two. Oh, I bought this in Japan. Ha. So yeah, quite often when you buy records in Japan, you get the original sort of Western version, if you like, with everything in English. But then you'll get, oh look, there's the boys. Then you'll get a shot. Then you'll get like an insert like this with everything translated into Japanese to the local listener. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Look at that. I mean, together, these represent, pretty much the greatest music recorded in the 20th century. Yeah, looks like I got this one in Japan as well. Yep, amazing. Yeah, loads of fantastic band shots that you may not have seen in the West, because this is where the local record company get to, add a bit of value and show their creativity and show their respect to the artist. Oh, what a shot of the band there. So yes, just one of the many reasons vinyl is the format to listen on. So yeah, if you're new to or haven't been convinced yet by the Beatles, just let us go. Just get those 2 compilations. And if you're starting out with a vinyl, just get those compilations and hammer them and get to know them. Because pretty much everything that's come since, owes a huge debt to that. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles. So we're still on B. Let's get a slab of vinyl out here and see what's in there. And then we'll probably have to conclude things. Oh, I know why that's there. I know why that's there. That's going back there. Doodle-doom. Crikey. Oh, look. 2 copies of A Tonic for the Troops by the Boomtown Rats. Put that there. Oh, I can give one away. Amazing. Not his best album, but I do like the artwork. Pretty challenging, and presumably he can lick his own nuts. So, well done, David, for becoming a dog. Absolutely no idea what that is. Oh, it's the last Edie Brickell. Some Beatles, some Rogue Beatles albums. Boom, boom, boom. Let's put those there. Okay. Last but not least. And technically these should have come before ABBA, because numbers come before letters when you sort your collection out. So what I've got here, basically, my 10C collection. Not in its entirety, but, kind of like the sweet spot, if you like, when, they just knock out hit after hit after hit. And of course, they are blessed with having not 1 but 2 songwriting partnerships in the same team. So there was Godley and Cream, and then Chapman and Gordon. And, it's just ridiculous. And, they were famously intelligent. And, you've literally just got creativity and ideas and talent just spewing out of this band. And, it's a job to keep up with them, really. And that gets translated through into the artwork as well. I mean, they're just having fun with, the ideas that they've come up with, which shape the album. So, yeah, how dare you? Bloody tourists. Quite a disturbing album cover, that one. It's basically just, a newspaper that's blown in somebody's face, but, it starts with Dreadlock Holiday. And, that should that should tell you all you need to know, really. Yes. Oh, look at that. Classic Hypnosis. Again, this is why the 70s were the best. Great design, and also just look at the band and their hair and their fashions. They look great as far as I'm concerned. Deceptive Bends 10cc. Here, of course, we're all getting it, deceptive bends, Ooh, is it a twist on a road, or is it the bends coming up too early? There's obviously a diving theme going on here. And that's one of the songwriting duos there. And that's the other on the back. And this has got, Good Morning Judge, The Things We Do for Love, which is one of my favourites. That was a single. Yeah, outstanding. And then 10cc, the original soundtrack, when they sort of fancied themselves as filmmakers in some kind of pseudo-western. But yeah, amazing artwork, amazing inner sleeve, and, even more amazing songs. The second sitting of The Last Supper, that's a belter. They used that for the opening of the live set. There's a double live album for them, which we'll get onto when we get into live albums. But yeah, this obviously has also got Life is a Minestrone on it, and I'm Not in Love. Yeah, so one of the great bands of the 70s, and yes, compilations are available. Sheet Music, I've not mentioned that. Changing Faces, that's like, a decent compilation of 10cc and Godly and Cream stuff. So it focuses on the Godly and Cream 10cc stuff. So not exhaustive, not comprehensive, but still outstanding. Okay, so I'm going to call it a wrap. That's part one of Rocking Chair. Hope you like it. Thoughts, suggestions, feedback, always welcome.